Okay, welcome. Hi. Hi, Adriana.
Hey, Nica.
So, Adriana Tica is a marketing strategist, writer, and trends analyst known for her non-BS zero hacks marketing strategy, here to help you grow a future-proof business. She's now on business number 3 and writes a brilliant weekly newsletter, Ideas to Power Your Future, which she says has been the best lead gen she's ever built. SEMrush named her one of the top 100 content marketing influencers in the world. And she's a digital nomad who enjoys working remotely, currently in Romania, especially from a Mediterranean island, and she speaks 6 languages. So, hi, Adriana. And I just wanted to say, I love the strapline on your website, which is, hi, I'm Adriana, and I never wanted to be an entrepreneur.
I
It
never
really
did.
made me laugh. So tell us what you do and why.
Um, so I run a digital marketing agency that mostly does content strategy, content writing, copywriting, a bit of social media. And my newest business, which isn't so new anymore, is a consulting business that's built on the backbone of my newsletter, Ideas to Power Your Future. So this is what I do right now. The newsletter and the business around it takes up most of my time, but the agency is my oldest business, and it's still the biggest revenue driver for me.
Okay. Okay. So what inspired you to make the move into solopreneurship then? What was happening? How did it happen?
Well, I wanted a space of my own. I wanted a place where I can write in my own name, not under a brand name, so that I can be more open about my opinions, about what I really think about the industry we're all in and about marketing, hence the no BS tagline. Um, and yeah, I didn't set out to make it profitable within 3 months, as you often hear. I didn't have a hard deadline on reaching 6, 7, 10 figures. So I'm just having fun with it, and I think it shows. I think that's what drives people to it. Well, one of the things.
So when did you start your newsletter then? And how's that all going? And what's
I started it at the end of 2022. It had a bit of a rough start because I was convinced that by having a big audience, it's going to be very easy to drive into my new project. But my audience was fairly accustomed to hearing me talk about content marketing and SEO and copywriting. So they kind of balked at the idea of broader marketing strategy. So I had to rethink that from scratch and to really invest in building a personal brand that's not attached to an agency and not attached to a single topic or a single cluster of topics, if you will.
Yeah, we were just discussing just now about niching and this whole
Yeah.
thing about having to niche down a little bit, to make a profitable business, which is, you say, is okay in the short term, but in the long term, is it good to be too niched, or is it better to have a bit of a helicopter view? Because with my work, I've worked across different industries, and I always think it's nice to pull trends and things you notice from different places, fintech or whatever, and you can pull it in or try and make connections between things and connect people. But that goes
Absolutely.
against a lot of the advice that we hear. It's niche, niche, niche. And I just wondered what your take was on all that, really.
Well, to piggyback on what you just said, when you have experience in more than one industry, it's immensely helpful. I've seen this in my agency. We work with tech companies, SaaS companies, but we also work with solopreneurs and micro businesses. But being able to draw strategies from seemingly unrelated industries it it's a huge help. It's a huge driver because the economy, with all its industries and niches and whatever you want to call them, doesn't exist in a void. All of these things aren't siloed. They influence each other. You know, if the economy as a whole goes down the toilet, most industries are going down with it. You know, and it helps to be able to pull strategies and tactics and ideas from one another. So to answer your question, yes, being super niche, like I only work with women in their 40 who are into hot yoga and have exactly 3 kids, I can help you generate a lot of revenue well, not a lot, but some revenue very quickly. But if you take the broader view, the helicopter view, as you called it, you're going to future-proof your business because tiny markets have very few people in them, and you don't want to hit that ceiling too soon. And I'd argue that there are very, very few businesses in this world, and especially solo businesses, who are super niche down and yet very profitable. When it comes to regular businesses, sure, you can talk about defense companies and aerospace who are super niche down, but those are hugely profitable industries, and you can't compare them to solopreneurship.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I like what you said. I was reading your newsletter yesterday and you were talking about, yeah, subscription economy as well, which I thought was really interesting. So what was it? This headline was, is it in trouble? Is it in decline? And you were sort of questioning that and then putting some stats and bits and pieces in there. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on, because I feel like I'm with Substack at the moment and I subscribe to a few other newsletters on there, but I can't afford to pay for as many as I would like to pay and support. And also I feel this real friction. It's like monthly payments I really don't want to do. I've just been through my entire, accounts and tried to have a look at subscriptions because I do this every year when I do my tax return. So what can I cut? What can I get rid of? What do I not need? What's extra? And trying to streamline everything, because I think as a solopreneur, you do that regularly. It's like every quarter, I'm trying to get into the habit of doing an accounts check and seeing where I'm at and what I've earned that quarter, because it's just helpful to see what kind of activities are generating the best return, where you need to put what you enjoyed also. It's quite hard to do that with a year, but monitoring it quarterly. But yeah, I mean, so what I'm saying is I'd like to subscribe to loads more, but I can't afford it really. And I think that's a problem for Substack and other subscription networks and companies. So where do you see that going? I mean, I like what you say about the lifetime thing. I was thinking about founding memberships and thinking why, because people are paying for that again. It's not just a one-off fee. They're paying every year for a founding membership on Substack if you choose to have that option on. But in terms of subscriber fatigue, I do think this is a problem for like paid subscriptions. So I just wonder what your thoughts were on how it's all going and what trends you've noticed with subscription economy. You talked a bit about Basecamp and some interesting things that are happening. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so Basecamp, the project management solution that's always been an innovator in this space, they're launching a new tech solution. It's a chat app that's a direct competitor to Slack and Teams. And they're calling it Once because you pay once and you have it forever, which is very interesting. It's a trend I've begun to notice even in spaces where traditionally you have to pay monthly or yearly for a discount, even in creator summits like Hey Creator and others. So I think it's a good idea to give people a chance to pay once and have access to your stuff forever or for however long you plan to keep going with that. Because in the newsletter space, that's also a bit of a problem, if you charge people yearly, you kind of have to stick with it for another year. And you don't just have anyone paying in January. So, by December, you will have fulfilled all of your bills, so to say. But it's a commitment, whether we like it or not. And from a business standpoint, and especially in the tech space, charging a higher price upfront can help you with the initial expenses, with the infrastructure, with everything. From a consumer point of view, it reduces the fatigue of checking your account every month and seeing how much money went to subscriptions that you've barely checked within that month, because it's real and people are starting to notice that they're paying for too much stuff, from traditional media outlets to indie newsletters to supporting a friend who's just launching something. It adds up. And in a broader context, we still don't know which way the economy is going to swing this year. We have elections going in more than half the countries on Earth. And you know how it goes before the elections. Everyone tells you, we're fine, everything's great, don't worry about it. the economy is thriving. After the elections, they uh, they sort of edit that and say, things aren't that great anymore, and we might be looking at a recession or at the very least at a slower growth rate. So the jury's still out on that, but I feel that people have started to be a bit more careful with their expenses, monthly or not.
Yeah, so you've noticed. So Hey Creator Summit, I saw actually. I missed that. Disappointed I missed that. I don't know where my head was, but I was planning on attending that. But yeah, it's interesting to see these lifetime options coming in. I just wonder what Substack and other outlets will do, whether they'll offer, because at the moment you can't offer that option. I'm not sure you can just have a one-time payment on there. You have to have the subscriptions on. But anyway, I'm trying to pivot more towards, making, for mine personally, making the annual much, much cheaper. So you can, because also it's the investment of time and the writing. And if you've got a bit of subscription churn, it makes it quite hard to plan your content. You want to provide a good service and think long term with it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. But maybe you can create this option outside of Substack. You can add it directly via Stripe, send it to your subscribers. Hey, this is the one-time fee if you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be via Substack.
yeah, no, you can. I mean, they have Stripe. You can. I've got that linked up to my website as well, so you can play around and offer different services there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what other sort of generally, did you go to the Hey Creator Summit then? Did you?
Well, I did register, but I didn't watch any of the videos because January was a very long, year for me. I had a lot going on, and I simply didn't have the time to watch the videos. Although uh, I mean, they all sounded interesting, and I would have loved to watch. I need to go back into my email and see if I can still access the recordings.
Yeah. Okay. So what are your general thoughts on creator economy overall? Do you think it's coming of age?
Yeah, I do think, and it's something I'm very bullish on, but much like the crypto space and the AI space right now, it's not necessarily the promised land. And I think that um, when any industry is coming of age, there's a bit of separating the wheat from the chaff that's going on, and it's getting harder to thrive in a mature industry. The competition is fiercer by the day. So I think we should all plan accordingly. It's not just I've built something, so let them come now. Let them come with their wallets wide open. That's not happening anymore because you have tons of competitors and alternatives to pretty much anything in the creator economy, in the B2B and the B2C space.
Yeah, no, I read your article on that. Adriana's got a good piece on the creator economy predictions for 24, which is well worth a read on her website.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've just joined Passion Fruit this week, so I'm going to check that out and had a chat with
Mhm.
James there. That was good, but interesting to see. They are pushing with America at the moment, and they do have a lot of companies on board. So I'm going to see whether that's a good fit for what I'm doing. And I explained a bit about, my goals and things with the newsletter. But they seem to be doing well, and they're providing a good service for creators and brands trying to connect the two. So,
It's on my to checklist. So I'm happy to hear that you've already started your process with
uh,
them.
they had a
I want to check it out too. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a good onboarding. They have a little chat with you and, just show you the dashboard and how it all works. But I think it's an alternative to trying to do it yourself. I mean, I have used SwapStack and I have gone directly to my audience as well and tried to do classifieds, but it's a bit hit and miss sometimes, and it's quite time consuming just doing all that back end part of things. And also, I think it would be great to have a longer term relationship, with, if you're going to be working with brands in this space, then build up something where maybe got a 6 month sponsorship instead of just doing a 1 month thing, which just feels really bitty. And it's like there's no relationship there really. So for me personally, I'd rather have something a bit more long term. So
Yeah.
that's, I'm going to explore that option with them and also see if I can network, if there's opportunities. I asked him if there's opportunities to network with other creators there as well. And he said they are working on channels like a Slack channel or something like that at the moment. So yeah, so
That's
they are
nice.
definitely one to check out. I think they're doing good work. And I'm just keeping my eye on it all, really. It just seems to be what I have noticed, like with things like the tilt, it's a bit of a move away. And Jen's also said this, it's a move away from relying on social media, the influencer model, and being paid by brands, to more self-sustainability and self-sufficiency with newsletters. For example, he said they do have a lot of newsletter writers on their books, and people wanting to build a direct relationship with their audience rather than being reliant on advertising and social media, changing algorithms and the rest. So,
oh yeah, that's a recurring theme in the creator economy. Social media is taking it to us again and again on every platform. Yeah. But I think it's sort of a moot point because it's very easy to feel a sense of ownership or over your social media profiles. Although in every TNC you read, it's very clear that they're not yours and that the social media platforms don't owe you anything. They have their own business goals. Sometimes they don't align with yours, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can hate them, sure, but again, it's a moot point because they never promised you anything. They never promised you endless reach and opportunities.
yeah. Yeah. What are you, LinkedIn? Is that your main channel at the moment?
Yeah, yeah.
Me too. I don't use Facebook anymore. I don't use Instagram. I have played around with Threads for a little bit, but I'm now focusing on LinkedIn, and X is challenging. But LinkedIn, at the moment, the organic reach is good on there. But with their newsletters, I experimented a bit with the creator settings, and I'm not sure that term really resonates with LinkedIn people. Maybe don't identify as creators, but they are investing in that side of things, and they seem to be investing in doing more bits and pieces on the newsletter front. But you can't download your list. You've got no idea. It's a bit like the Amazon thing. You've got no idea who's bought your book, who's reading. You can't communicate directly with people. So my strategy on there is just doing a little excerpt and then trying to, drive people back through to the actual sign-up list.
Yeah, same here. My goal on the platform is to deplatform people.
Yeah. But it is great for connecting and finding people and, just generally keeping in touch with what's going on. Yeah. So how are you growing your newsletter then? What tips have you got on kind of audience growth generally because you just did your audience accelerator, which I'm sorry to have missed. And let me know if you're doing it again and I will share it. But yeah, what are your general thoughts on sort of audience building for solopreneurs? Aside from a newsletter, how else are you getting yourself out there and networking and collaborating?
So building an audience typically has to happen on multiple platforms. I know the common advice tells you to focus on one platform, grow that, and then pivot to another and another and another. But a single platform is risky. I mean, just imagine what would happen if all you had now was your High Five or MySpace account. You'd be dead in the water. And I think we all know those horror stories with influencers who are banned from Instagram, seemingly for no reason. And that can happen anywhere. So future-proofing your audience starts with obviously having a newsletter and on being present on multiple channels. I think the part that the people who went to my workshop this week appreciated the most was my take on creating growth loops, self-feeding growth loops for audience growth, where you have multiple platforms and you don't think of them as silos. You don't think of them as existing in a bubble. So you try to deplatform people from one website or one platform to another. The obvious choice is moving people from LinkedIn to your newsletter. We've already covered that. But you should also move people from your newsletter to LinkedIn and from LinkedIn to X and from Instagram to Threads and so on and so forth. Because for one, you cannot reach your entire audience with a single message. You can't just do this on social media because of the ever declining organic reach. And you can't do this on email because no one is going to open all your emails.
Yeah.
So you need an access point to every audience member on multiple platforms. I've seen this happen every time I launched a new product, even with the audience accelerator workshop that I did. Everyone who bought a ticket to it was already subscribed to my newsletter, but not all of them bought it from my email. Some of them bought it from social media, because that's, I don't know, maybe the social media post resonated with them more than the email. Maybe they didn't get a chance to check their email that day, but they saw it on social media. So it's very, very important to have access to your audience members on several platforms.
Yeah. So how much time a day are you spending on social then at the
Oh,
moment?
I don't want to answer that. It's
Oh,
it's way too long. Uh, I think it's roughly around 2 hours. I've cut back. It used to be more, especially when I first started with LinkedIn, and they can all be time sucks, especially as your audience grows. You want to reply to every comment, every DM, everyone who ever contacts you, but after a certain point, it becomes unfeasible. You can't do that anymore. There's too many of them and a single one of you. So yeah.
yeah, I find with LinkedIn as well that I try to use it first thing in the morning, just a little bit, maybe do an hour for clients as well, and a bit of my own. But often later on in the day is when the US comes online, for example, in
Yes.
the afternoon, suddenly you get the messages, oh, it's like 5 p.m. and everything's happening. It's like, oh my God. And you're just kind of shutting down, but you can't. Yeah, you want to respond to comments, and you have to be, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah, you have to be kind of around and looking at things at different times of day. So I've ended up working this weird day where I'm doing morning bits, then I might take a break in the afternoon, do some exercise, and then come back on and stay on a bit later in the evening and just catch up with the US things or webinars and bits and pieces that, are happening on US time. So
Yeah.
it's not easy to do the 9 to 5 anymore with all this, I find. So
It's not. We keep talking about how solo businesses offer you more freedom, but if you're not careful with it, it's not freedom. You're actually building a golden cage for yourself. And sometimes it's easier to disconnect if you work in a regular 9 to 5 because it's not your business, so you don't care about it that much. But I don't know, maybe this is TMI, maybe I'm oversharing, but I found that it's very common for me and for other solopreneurs I've met to spiral into these guilt trips where you always feel like you could do more because it's your business and the work never ends. On the other hand, you know that you need time away from your business, and it's a very weird vicious circle when where you're off, you feel like you could be working, but when you're working, you realize, hey, I haven't had real time off in a while.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, especially if you do weekends. If I put my newsletter out on a Sunday, so I often end up working on it if I don't have time in the week, it's a Saturday job. So I'm
yeah,
aware of that. And something I'm struggling with, definitely burnout is an issue, and just not being able to switch off because I'm just, motivated, want to learn, want to listen. I enjoy podcasts. So I'm usually plugged into something, whether I'm out running or listening to things in the evening. I was listening to one of your podcasts last night, and yeah, you don't really switch off unless you find something to do, a hobby that's very physical, that's something that takes you out of yourself and just helps you be creative in a different way.
yeah.
um I was reading about Nicole, um I've forgotten her surname. She does Content Rookie, but she's doing pottery at the moment, and she said she's loving the pottery classes because it's just helping her switch off and be creative in a different way. So yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, you need something because if you're just, I use my stationary bike a lot, but it's not creative exercising. So my brain is still thinking about business stuff in the background, or maybe I'm listening to a podcast when I'm cycling, and then that podcast is going to spark ideas for my own business, and so on and so forth. So I'm disconnected, but not really.
Yeah, no, I think it's something we need to talk about more, the burnout thing, because it's definitely an issue. If you're trying to do everything on your own, just because you're a solopreneur, you don't have to do it all on your own. You can hire help, you can find, you don't have to manage or feel like you've got to be all jobs, because it's not sustainable long term. You can't do every single job function yourself. So I think you have to prioritize the strategic stuff and the things that are going to move you forward, and then try to either use AI or find some help support
Yeah.
wise, the other areas of your business that are a bit easier to automate, that you can teach people how to do, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. VAs can be lifesavers, and I learned this lesson the hard way when I opened my agency, which I called an agency, but for the first few months to a year, I was essentially a glorified freelancer. And at some point, I realized, okay, this needs to stop. I need to hire more people. That's why I started an agency. I can't do my own promotional stuff. I can't do work for the client. I can't do client outreach, client service, everything. No, and it's not sustainable.
No, because it's different part of your brain, isn't it? So maybe working on different activities at different times of the week. You know, if you're in it's like the maker and the Paul Graham's essay on the maker and the manager is brilliant on this. And he sort of talks about, you know, how you're in different flow states. And I had to explain that to a client once, you know, I said, I can't. She said something about why weren't you there available, or why didn't you pick up? I said, because I was writing, I was just in a flow. I said, I just lost track of time with something, you know, and that's the challenge with this kind of work, isn't it? You're kind of switching between the strategic stuff and the outreach and the client work, but also the deep thinking time and creating that's not always going to be done at your desk. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And the daily nitty-gritty, the administrative stuff, the yet another email that's mostly spam, but not exactly, and you have to attend to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I read an email. Jodie Cook is really interesting. She's big in the AI space at the moment. And she said she put something out the other day on this. And she said she split her day into two. So she's doing 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the strategic work and the writing. And then 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. is on the phone calls, the admin, the non-brain stuff that she can do a bit more. You know, I thought
Yeah,
that actually is a good way of splitting your day. So I might give that a try.
it is because these things require different areas of your brain, and I think it depends a lot on your rhythm. Some people um, are smarter in the morning, others are smarter in the afternoon, night owls and early birds. But
Yeah.
if you try to mix them up, you're never going to be neither an early bird nor a night owl. You're just going to be some sort of permanently exhausted pigeon, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I
gosh.
wish I could say I'm not speaking from experience, but I am. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And because you're putting yourself out there a lot as well, so you feel like you've got to keep up that social media presence as well, and you know, be online, not be offline too much. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah. So well done on keeping it all going. So what are you excited about right now then? What's next for you? What's your focus this year?
I'll be launching a couple more products and services. I have them all mapped out quarterly. So far, I managed to keep up with what I added to my calendar. But then again, it's barely February, so I still have time to mess up the entire schedule. And other than that, I'll still be focusing on a newsletter growth, perhaps find a few ways to monetize the newsletter better, because at the time I'm not monetizing it directly. There's no paid option. It's just through services and digital products. And I think that's it. Last year was a foundational year for me. I kind of got my bearings, figured out what I wanted to do moving on. And so this year is going to be the growth year, both in terms of audience and in terms of revenue, because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think growth is the general theme of the year. It is for me, and also people I know are just focusing on growth at the moment, whether that's personal growth and professional growth. I have a friend who's doing a whole kind of event down here in Hastings, all around creativity and growth. So I'm going to try and tap into that a little bit as well. But yeah, are you publishing on ConvertKit then for your newsletter?
Yes, yes.
So no paid option at the moment. Then are you working with Sparkloop or anything like that, or?
I have a referral program via Spark Group, and I need to do a better job at promoting it, because when I do, it yields results. And yes, I'm plugged into Sparkloop. I'm also in the creator network, which is very, very good because it kind of automates your growth. You don't always have time to plug your newsletter everywhere you go. But the creator network pretty much takes care of that for you. And it's been really nice to wake up to several new subscribers every day without doing any promotional work for that. And yeah, that's my current tech stack. I don't plan to change it because you have pretty much everything you need within ConvertKit, the creator network, the Sparkle program. I also sell my products through ConvertKit because it's very easy to set up and just push play.
Yeah, I can see. It was interesting to see about the creator network, because they're doing good work there, and then you've got Beehive, who are really pushing things at the moment as well. With
Yeah,
the ad network, it's like all this competition is really, making things get quite heating things up. And then obviously Substack, the originator, who's obviously trying to keep up with things, but it's a different model on Substack. It's less focused on advertising. The culture there is more literary, definitely.
yeah.
And people are running ads and experimenting and trying things, but I think it's more around loyalty and reader subscriptions and things there. So yeah, it's interesting to see all these different platforms and how they're competing and what they're doing to keep up with it all. But yeah, overall, the subscription economy, I'm just fascinated with where it's all going. And I really miss physical products as well. It's like everything's so online now. You don't own anything anymore. It's like you say about the record and the vinyl. It's like I've gone back to buying books because I just want something physical to read, and also to get myself off the screen, because otherwise you can spend all day looking at a computer screen or a mobile phone screen, and I don't think that's healthy. So
Yeah, but there's also the convenience side, we complain about paying for subscriptions, which is a valid complaint. But on the other hand, because you mentioned books, I love printed books and I love reading them. But I no longer have space in my home to house this many books.
yeah.
So my e-reader has been a lifesaver because it can hold, I don't know, maybe over 1,000 books, which is huge. I can't even imagine how much space I need in my home to add all of these books. Plus, there are a ton of books that you read once, you never want to revisit them. So I sort of started cleaning out my physical library and just keeping the books I may want to revisit at a later time. If it's a novel, if it's a cheap read that I enjoyed once but don't want to revisit again, off it goes to charity or somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. I think Audible is fantastic and I listen to a lot of things. The only thing with it is I find I don't retain the information. So there's
Same
something
here.
about listening. It's like podcasts as well. I have to physically write down. If there's something, I have to stop it and I have to write it down. Otherwise, I won't remember quotes and things. For some reason, I don't retain it as well as if I would be sitting and reading it. So maybe that's my brain and how I work. But
It's mine as well. I've been accustomed, if you want to learn something, you have to read it. That's why I don't spend that much time on YouTube, for instance, or if I want to learn something that's only on video, I always look for the transcript. It's faster, you can read faster than you listen. So just give me the transcript and I'll take the notes I did.
yeah, I'm like that with videos. I'll put the captions on and I'll find myself not looking at the people, but I'll be reading the captions. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? It's a video. I should be looking at the person, not reading the caption. Okay, yeah, no, I get that with the books, because you're traveling. Also, you're a digital nomad, so you don't want to have too much stuff. Are you based most of the time in Romania then, or how often do you get abroad, or what's your favorite place that you've been to? What's the plan?
So yes, I'm based in Romania. I get out of the country as often as I can. I'm typically somewhere near the Mediterranean. Greece is and Crete in particular are my favorite places to be. I try to set a semi-permanent base for at least a couple of months a year somewhere else. And I think the most fascinating place I've ever lived and worked from was the island of Madeira in Portugal. It's absolutely stunning. Uh, Crete, the Greek island, is always going to be my favorite place on earth. I always go back there. Uh, I go back there happily and eager to meet the friends I've made and to practice my Greek. But Madeira is in a league of its own. I mean, it looks far more exotic than the Caribbean, even. It's a stunning island, and it's within Europe. I mean, it's closer to the coast of Africa than to the coast of Europe, Perhaps that's why it has this amazing scenery, but wow. Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Marianne Lennis, actually, who I interviewed a little while ago, she's got a green tech platform, climate change. She's working with startups and green tech companies, but she's just spent a few last year. Yeah, her trip was a long trip to Madeira. So she didn't have anywhere to stay when she went there, but she found this kind of mountainous accommodation in the end. So she ended up having a little retreat in Madeira and stayed in like an Airbnb setup. And yeah, was out there on her own, but really enjoyed it. You know, she sent me some stunning pics and said the air was incredible. She was really enjoying it. She said she did go to the nomad village there, and she said it was quiet. You know, I think they're working on the infrastructure of that and getting more people to come from Portugal down to Madeira to sort of get that space going. But, you know, she sent me some pics of the space there as well, and it looked great. So definitely on the list because it's not far, is it? It's like the Canaries. I think there are places that are working on this co-working, getting people to come over and getting companies and nomads over, and they're working on the infrastructure. It's really exciting to see. So anywhere that's easy to get to from Europe is fantastic. So
Yeah, I think Gonzalo, but I forget his last name. He's the guy who's single-handedly responsible for putting Madeira on the map for digital nomads. He built a co-working space. He works really hard on promoting Madeira as a destination for digital nomads, and it's working really well because it's a relatively cheap place to be in. The food is fantastic. The views are amazing. You can do trekking, you can do surfing, you can just lay low and enjoy the scenery. Yeah.
yeah, she sent me a picture of herself having coffee in someone's garage. So she was in like a village and there wasn't a lot around, but there was a sign for coffee and somebody had kind of renovated their garage and they put some tables out. So she was co-working one day from someone's garage and having a nice bit of cake and coffee for €2 or something. I was very jealous.
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. Is there anything else you want to mention that we've not talked about? What was the other thing I was going to ask you? You said 2024 is going to be your year of consolidation, diversification, and cross-channel expansion. So do you think we all need to be thinking about how to diversify our income streams a little bit and how can we future-proof? I suppose, how can we future-proof ourselves as solopreneurs?
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind from day one. But of course, before you think about diversification, you need to build the foundation for your first revenue stream, for your first platform. But ideally, have a diversification plan as early on as possible. My goal is to offer a healthy mix of services and digital products. And I think that even though most people are in a huge rush to skip to the digital products part, you need the foundational services step, not just because they're more lucrative, but also because working with people one-on-one, you get a better understanding of what they need and which of their needs can be, productized. What can you still offer as a service and what can be turned into a product? Because, well, not everything can be or should be productized.
Yeah,
People are always going to be more willing to pay for support than for knowledge.
that's really interesting. Yeah, I think, and also just thinking about the service thing, it's like even if you get to the point where you're making lots of money from course sales or something, and you're doing that, it's fairly lonely. You're working on your own behind your screen. You're not really working with that many colleagues. So you're just in your own head a lot, which cannot always be that healthy. But I think it's a way of keeping in touch with trends and what's going on and actually what the real world and what people are struggling with and what's happening doing the client services work. So I don't think I'd give it up, even if I was earning, lots and lots of money, because it's like you still need to feel you'll run out of ideas. How do you keep yourself generating ideas if you're not having regular conversations with clients and out there in the world, understanding what's happening? Because idea generation, yeah. So I think it's important. All right. All right. Well, it's lovely to talk to you.
Same here, Nika. Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Enjoy where you are, and keep us posted on the next trip. And let me know if there are any, where's the best place for people to find you if they want to find out about what you're working on, your courses. Where can they sign up for your newsletter?
They can find my newsletter at adrianatica.com/newsletter. And I'm also very easy to find on LinkedIn, X, Threads. I'm easy to find online. I made sure of that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Nica.